Welcome to the One Mission TV series, Healing Conversations. I'm your host, Ashley H2H. Chances are, if you found your way to this TV series, you're on a healing journey. And whether you went through something traumatic or you witnessed something traumatic, my hope is that the people that I interview during this TV series helps you as you continue on your healing journey. As always, One Mission and I am here for you. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back, everybody, to One Mission TV series, Healing Conversations. I am your host, Ashley H2H. I'm so excited to interview Robert from Acupuncture Connections in Framingham, Massachusetts today. So welcome, Robert. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Yay. So Robert, I've been a patient of yours now for almost a year and a half. It feels like forever, but it's been a year and a half. Not my first acupuncturist, but I have to say one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm so excited to be interviewing you today for our patients and families who, as you know, are really struggling through healing after, going through the crisis of having a sick child. So why don't we start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, Acupuncture Connections, and like the history of acupuncture. Like, for some people, they just don't know what it is.
Sure. Well, it's funny because I've been practicing acupuncture for more than 15 years. And when I would reach out to the community, when I was starting to build my practice, they would ask me continually, does this really work? Does it really work? And it was very interesting because a lot of the times you think, well, what is it? And it's a medicine that's been around for over 3,000 years. So relatively speaking, modern medicine, as we think of it, Western medicine, has been around 150, 200 years in that time frame. But, Chinese medicine has been around for a long time. So when we're thinking about history, there's been a lot of challenges as far as our civilizations. So there's been plagues, there's been viruses, there's been issues with pestilences and things along that lines. So the Chinese culture has been around for a long time, and they've had a medicine that has been able to adapt and serve their population for thousands of years. So when we're looking at Chinese medicine, it's a really comprehensive medicine that includes, it's multifaceted. So there's acupuncture, which most people have heard of, Chinese herbal medicine, which is very much used today. And then there's bone setting and different type of massage type of things that are linked together. So it has really enjoyed a big history and has really adapted and changed as different challenges have faced the population of Asia and has spread throughout the world now. So now, going to present, most major hospitals have some form of either acupuncture, orthopedic acupuncture. Some are venturing out into the herbal medicine. And even lately with the COVID-19 challenges that we've been having, front lines, they've been using that in China and Asia, and some parts of the western part of the United States have been using the herbal medicine right on the front lines to help the immune system and to fight against the side effects of COVID-19. So it's a very interesting history, and it's very rich, and there's a lot to offer. So not only from like an illness perspective, but from an immune system perspective, from a wellness perspective. And that's something that I hope we talk about a little bit later, is how it can help the body, even though there might not be something wrong. So a lot of people, when they first think about Chinese medicine, it's like, well, I've got nothing wrong with me. And I think we're all kind of guilty of it. But when we're looking at the best form of the medicine, is really a preventive and proactive medicine. Of course, it really helps when there's something that's of issue, when you do have a medical diagnosis. But to get your body to work optimally, this medicine is really amazing and can help a lot of people.
Well, that's interesting. That was a great explanation, by the way. Thank you for that. And I remember when we first met, so what can I help you with, right, is what you asked me. And I was having all of these issues with migraines and neck pain and back pain and, irregular periods. And I was like, this is all my stuff. And you were like, yeah, what else is going on in your life?
Right.
It was almost like you knew there was like a whole other side of me aside from like the physical side of me. And so when you treat your patients, you really treat us, I think, from the whole perspective, like
Right.
literal well-being, which I have found to be tremendously beneficial to me personally. And one of the things you first said was, you're in a shift. And people often find me when they're ready to make a shift in their life, whether that's mind, body, spirit, physical or otherwise. And I have noticed, for me in particular, that the emotional shift of my energy body has really made an impact on my physical body. And so people
Right.
don't really totally get, and that's really the whole purpose of this TV series, is to have people to understand that we have kind of more than one body. We have an energy body and we have a physical body, and
Right.
they really need to be in line. It's not just a cliche, mind, body, spirit. It really is a true statement. And so you're right. People can go to you to help with physical ailments, but also just to be in optimal health. You don't have to
Right.
have anything wrong with you. I think that was really great that you said that, because lots of times people think, well, I don't need to go to acupuncture because I feel great. But we can always, A, feel better, and B, take good care of ourselves. So it's that.
Right. Right. And I think, which is fascinating just from a clinical side of things, is when somebody comes in into the clinic and they definitely have things that they want to work on. I want to work on 1, 2, or 3. Like, these are my issues. But usually when something happens that in the body, there's a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
There's a perfect storm. There's a perfect situation of, there's a move, there's a stressor, there's a divorce, there's major events that happen. And then all of a sudden there's this opportunity for, like, the body gradually kind of breaks down. The body is really resilient and amazing and super intelligent, but it can only put off and handle so many, putting out fires so much before it starts to cave in. And with a lot of people, including myself, it's just one thing after the other, one thing after the other, and then finally maybe you have a little break and there's a little bit of a breather, and then things hit the fan. It's, oh my gosh, I let down, and then I get sick.
100%.
Right? I get sick or something happens. And then this opportunity presents itself, and the body just, it can't, it's not resilient at that point. To understand somebody's story and to understand, like, what is the makeup that leads to a condition is really important. And really what this medicine is so brilliant at doing is bringing out the body's ability to heal itself. So it's returning function to the body. What's really unique about this is we're looking at the root cause. So everybody's different. So somebody might come in for a specific condition and they might be treated in a generic way.
Yeah.
And for this medicine, it's identifying, well, how is your body, why is it presenting these symptoms? And usually there's all these little pieces that, oh, I have headaches, I have painful periods, I've got insomnia, I am wired and tired, things that do not regularly require medical attention, and it's just the way I am.
Yep.
It's just the way I am. I have headaches, and I've been living with it for the 20 some years or whatever, but it's there in the background and I manage it by X, Y, and Z. But all of these little things add up to a bigger picture, and all of these little things are interconnected in some way. So when you were talking about holistic or looking at the body as a whole, we want to understand how each one of these systems are working separately and together.
Right.
And there is, the inside affects the outside, being that the internal organs affects the physical side, like the muscle skeletal system affects the inside. Right.
So tell us a little bit about, like, what does acupuncture help? I mean, it sounds like everything, but I want to hear
Yeah,
that from
it does.
you.
And when you look at the list, and you might even search on the World Health Organization as far as understanding, well, what does acupuncture effectively treat? There's a whole list of things. So as our education as acupuncturists, traditional Chinese medical practitioners, we're trained as being generalists. Because when we're looking at kind of like the root cause and people's patterns and their imbalances, we look at that first, and then we do that's a root treatment, and then we're looking at, well, how can we help the physical muscle skeletal system, right? And so for me, like when I did my education, I loved everything, absolutely everything. I wanted to know everything about that. And so I was very much comfortable as far as being a general practitioner, because I love the challenge. I love the detective work as far as understanding what are those root imbalances and how they're causing symptoms in the body. But as I'm serving my community and also the general population, and where insurances are coming into play is that now they're covering outside of, we're on the East Coast here in Massachusetts, they cover pain and musculoskeletal things by insurance, mostly in the East Coast. Outside of Massachusetts, where I practice, they cover fertility, they cover cancer care, they cover the whole host of things. So where we are in our state, it's covering pretty much pain, which it's really brilliant at. They've actually found that it's more effective than morphine in studies for helping chronic and acute pain. Actually, the military has adopted acupuncture in their first line of support for those servicemen that are out there that get injured in the field, and they call it battlefield acupuncture. And it works on points in the ear, and which is really, really effective, and it treats the entire body, but they use it in a pain context. So if somebody has a severed limb, or they're in excruciating pain, they'll do auricular acupuncture and maybe a nerve block, and then transport them to a place where they can be served better. But that immediate side of things, they're getting away from heavy narcotics and drugs in order to alleviate some of the pain that they're undergoing. So going back to, what can we treat, and what do we do well, and what do I do well? It's basically what my community is. So my community, I see a lot of autoimmune issues. I see people that are looking at strengthening their immune system. Now I'm seeing people more so like after the remnants of COVID and how it's affected the body and restoring their body. I see people for anxiety, sleep, lots of pain type of thing, muscle skeletal issues. And still, even now, even though acupuncture is widely recognized, people kind of are coming to us as like a last resort. Oh, I've tried everything and I'm coming to you now. Anything that's like pain related, and anybody, I get up on my soapbox, if there's anybody that's undergoing cancer care, must get them in here ASAP. It makes a huge difference. And I'm talking from personal experience. I haven't told you this, but in 2015, when I opened my practice, 2005, so 15 years ago, it was the first month my son was born. And it was during that first month that I opened, I noticed a lump on my neck. So, a long story short, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I went through the whole range of treatments, from chemotherapy to radiation during the first month that we opened. So I had a child and my practice, and it was pretty shocking at the same time. But going back to acupuncture, it made such a huge difference in the therapies that I was having to mitigate side effects and to keep me working during that time. There was definitely some downtimes in between the chemotherapy sessions, but acupuncture has been instrumental. And sometimes we spoke about this before, is that the pain that you have in your life, whether it's a condition, physical pain, or whatever, it can be a teacher, how to change course and what you need to do better in your life. But for me, like it really, it wasn't that I wasn't empathetic to my patients that came in, but it gave me a new type of perspective of the power like this medicine and what people and families are going through with the care of their families, their children, what have you. So it definitely is an eye opener. Yeah. So
Oh, wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Well,
yeah,
I'm so glad that you're through all of that.
yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
wow, congrats. So that makes sense now because you get it. Like I always wondered, like, how does he know me so well? Like I was like, oh, he's just psychic, you know, because most helpers are healers, and you know, right? But I
Hmm.
think that you identified with this fast pace part of me. You could see yourself in me, and so you kind of knew that there was this shift and this new balance that needed to happen.
Hmm.
So that all makes sense now. But
Hmm.
interesting about what about kids in acupuncture? Because
Hmm.
like you talked about your own cancer treatment, like there's a lot of kids, families who are obviously going to be watching this, whose children are either at the tail end of their treatment or even maybe still in treatment. You
Right.
know, I know this, but kids can come to you, right?
Yeah, yeah, and for pediatrics, it's more of a specialty in Chinese medicine, just because they're unique in themselves. They're small, and you don't treat children the way that you treat adults. So, and to understand the kind of dosing, if you will, of the acupuncture, typically acupuncture for children is super gentle.
With the needles.
It's yeah, it can be with needles, very fine, thin needles. Where a lot of the times when people have needle phobia, it's usually from a bad injection, or injections, or series of injections, or IVs in some cases. So with acupuncture, it's super flexible and thin. It's like less than the thickness of a hair on your head. A tube is needed in order to tap it in, and that's not a sensation that is really felt at all. And the retention of the needles, meaning how long they are placed inside the skin, is very short. It's very quick. So I think people should kind of get away from that. That's one style of acupuncture for kids. Which is very effective in itself. Another side is called Shonishin, or Japanese type of pediatric acupuncture, and I practice that and cold laser acupuncture for kids as well. And when children come into the clinic, they love coming here. They love it. They love it because it's interactive. They can move around. They don't have to sit still, and it's more of a conversation. And with the pediatric type of Shonishin Japanese type of acupuncture, it's a brushing of the skin, and then it's using blunt instruments in order to create a sensation that is, I think the practitioner can feel it more than the child can, because usually we're talking about their day and their favorite food or movie or something along that lines. And then the third way is the cold laser, which is basically it looks like a light that shine, either a red frequency light or a blue one, depending upon what the practitioner is doing, to help strengthen or take away excess from the body, like strong symptoms. So we use that one, and the treatments are very effective and very quick. So it's a really an amazing and very comfortable experience for kids, and parents like it too. And usually it becomes an introduction to acupuncture for adults when they see how much the kids change and they improve. And again, when we're looking at what do we treat for children, anything from chemotherapy or side effects for cancer, strengthen the immune system, allergies, the common cold, behavioral issues. What I tell parents is to trust their intuition. I think the moms and the parents, they understand when their children are off.
Totally.
Even those things that don't have a diagnosis, what I want to kind of get across is trust your intuition. As far as when your child is off, don't wait for a medical diagnosis to say it's okay for treatment. And this goes for kids, and this goes for adults as well, is something's off.
Yeah.
Most important thing is with parents is trust your intuition. If you know something is off, it's usually, you don't need to have anything wrong, quote unquote, or a medical diagnosis to have acupuncture, because it stimulates the body to remember what it should be doing naturally. So the brilliance and the intelligence of the body is so much so that we're activating and reminding the body and teaching it how to work. And then it carries on. It says, oh, I remember what I'm supposed to be doing. Thank you. But if it's sleepy or a little bit sluggish, we have to kind of get the ball rolling so that there's that education process, so that it remembers its function.
Right.
Is because, like, for me and for a lot of people out there, life is tough. There's a lot going on, right? So like we were saying at the very beginning, the body is designed to handle, acute stress, right? But we have, in the way that our bodies have developed and the way that civilization has developed, is that we have acute stress and then we recover. Right? We get a good night's sleep, we have a good meal, some movement, exercise, and the body recovers. However, our culture and our society is, we've got chronic underlying stress as our baseline all the time. And then we have daily fires, multiple fires. So our restoration practices, our ability to restore ourselves is impeded because we're having caffeine in the morning to power up. We're having caffeine through the day to keep on going. And then we have a drink or something at nighttime to kind of chill us out because we need our time, or watch like a show or something like that. But to kind of get our bodies to our nervous systems to relax and to kind of reboot, we wait until our vacation time. Right? Oh, I'll relax when, I'm done with this. Or, it's taking care of oneself is more of a luxury for a lot of people. And it's something that we have to kind of make sure that it's hard when the body gets into this ramping up type of heightened state. It's hard to chill it out. And then it's continually there, and you go on the technology, you're on the social media, you're looking for more answers, you're doing the research. And commonly people will come in and they're wired and tired. And they can't sleep, or they get enough sleep and it powers up the mind, and they wake up at the magical hour between 1 or 2 or maybe 3, right? And it's, I've got enough sleep to power up the mind.
Well, that's interesting the way that you describe that, because that's the people that are watching this have had prolonged major stress. And the whole purpose of me doing this TV series is because I crashed and burned. And it was not just Nicholas, because that was 15 years ago, but it was that, and I didn't heal it then. And then I just kept layering and layering and layering all the stress and the running and all of that. And my body gave up, literally. It was like, oh, if you're not going to stop and take care of us, we're going to stop you, and you're not going to have a choice.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I say, is if we don't make time for our bodies make time for us.
Exactly.
Right. And it's interesting, if I may, just to talk about that, because I just find that such a phenomenon, right? So a lot of the times when somebody has like a chronic condition, it's that the body is amped up. It's ramped up. It's the wired and tired and sleepless nights, that type of thing. And there's a lot of things that might be going on simultaneously, as far as digestive issues, back issues, whatever. Like the body is kind of short-circuited, right? So what I love to see is what I call kind of like the letdown or the sigh effect of the body, is when somebody comes in and I wait for it. I wonder how long it's going to take. Is it going to be this first session? Is it going to be a few sessions? But the body goes, okay. Sorry, I'm very animated. So it goes, and then the person says to me, I am so exhausted now. I said, okay, that is wonderful, because now we can rebuild you.
Right.
Because when it's in that frenetic type of state, it's like inflammation markers are up, things are, the body is just short-circuiting, and it needs to have that kind of reboot where it says, oh, now I can relax.
Totally.
Now I can relax. Now I can heal. Now like the messages that my brain sends to my body to heal itself and restore can be accessed. And it's interesting too, because I know that we spoke about this before, about traumas, right? And a lot of the times when we're going through any type of difficult situation, that we tend to stuff things in. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I'm going to deal with this later. Okay, I have to get through this. And you go from one thing to the next, and we're just checking things off, and we're getting things done, and we have to go through the throes of this. And we've got, in the case of cancer, we've got 2 more sessions left. We've got 1 more session, 1 more month of like radiation, whatever, and then we'll be able to take a break. It's there during this time. There's not the ability to process what's going on, right? And so we say, can't deal with this emotion, and we put it aside, and we just get things done, and we do it for the greater cause.
Yeah.
However, the body stores this.
Oh yeah.
Right? It stores this trauma either being physical from like an accident, or somebody that is in the service or something along that lines, or on the emotional side of things, or both, right? It stores it in the cellular level. And I see clinically in here, for people that they gotta stuff it, it bubbles out in inopportune times. It's kind of like a somewhat deflated balloon. When you squeeze it, it pops out somewhere. So as soon as you start to kind of relax or release a little bit, or kind of feel like you put down your guard, something comes up, right? What's interesting about the process of going through the treatments, and what you were describing about the tears, whenever there's a trauma, it feels like, oh, I don't want to go there. It's too painful. It's like opening up a can of worms. I don't want that. With this type of medicine, what it does is you when you're ready to deal with it, it comes out. And I tell people, you're strong enough to handle it now. Right? You're strong enough to handle it now, but you want to have the tools on hand. So when people are going through acupuncture, and because we're working on the nervous system and all the other systems of the body, the trauma and that emotionally charged feeling, you can kind of liken that to you being in an action movie. Somebody's chasing you, and there's things happening all around, and I don't want to talk about it because it's too painful. When you're having treatment, it's kind of like you're kind of watching it, like you're involved, and there might be an emotion around it, but it's not so charged as it was before. And with the help of talk therapy, but also the acupuncture, having the right team, it really makes a big difference. And to work through it and to process it in a healthy manner, versus being like, oh, I don't want to go there, it's too strong, it's too painful of a process for me.
I found that acupuncture gave my body, my physical body and my energy body, the reserve to be able to handle things. Because what would happen is, just like you described, I would feel all these feelings or have all these sensations in my body of anxiety. And I would be like, nope, not doing this. Nope, everything's fine. Keep working, keep running, keep building, keep doing. And then I crashed and burned. And then when I crashed and burned, I was like, I'm never going to be able to put myself back together.
Right.
It was building myself up. Like I used to describe to my clients, like, you heal from the inside out, like a petal, like the flowers that they open up. And so when you are building, and sometimes that can take a long time, like you're building reserve, so that when something comes up and you get triggered, right, and you're like, oh my God, I'm feeling all these feelings, you can say, all right, I can do this. I can talk about this now. I can acknowledge that this happened. I can acknowledge that I am terrified and that I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. But even saying that without having built up the reserves and strengthening your body, it's not even an option, because it will break you, which is why you don't do it, because you're so terrified that it's going to shatter you. So I love this. I think this has been super helpful for those that are watching it. You've covered everything in such a eloquently described. You described it so eloquently. So thank you for that. So you're in Framingham. For those people who are either can't drive to Framingham or whatever, and they can find you acupunctureconnections.com, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Jenny, who's my new BFF, who answers the phone, she's and so, but say for instance, they're in Connecticut or whatever, New Hampshire, where, or even just a different part of Massachusetts, like how do they find a good acupuncturist?
Yeah, I think it goes back down to somebody that you can relate to. But I think what's really important is that for us, just talking about you and myself, to find like a good acupuncturist is not just having a title. There might be that might be a good acupuncturist, but it might not be the one for you. Right. So there's a lot of great acupuncturists out there, but the most important thing is to have that kind of connection. Right. So I may not know everything and experience everything that you've gone through in your life, and however I can relate to it. I understand what you're going through. The difference between many times is that you're having a relationship that's more frequent than any medical professional out there, because at the very beginning you might be seeing that person a few times a week, or having an ongoing relationship. So it's somebody that you don't have to be best friends with, but for you to respect and to appreciate their work. They understand you, they give you the time as far as to understand you, and they know that you know that they know you, and that you feel very comfortable, and they've seen what you've or might be going through, and they've treated it well. And then also you feel like there's that kind of connection. I think I like that person. I like what they're saying. I feel like I feel comfortable around them. The comfort level is key.
Yeah. Trust is huge. And especially for people who have just been through trauma, we typically don't trust.
Right.
Because our whole game is keeping ourselves safe. So like, if you're not going to do that, and I don't even get the vibe from you, then I don't trust you. And especially for the parents watching this who just had a sick child, we typically leave the hospital not trusting medical professionals, because a long stint of cancer treatment, there are unfortunately mistakes made and miscommunication and all of that stuff. So leaving and then trusting doctors after that's very hard. And that's why I think I am finally staying with an acupuncturist, because the trust was a little hard for me at the beginning, and then, so that's listening to your intuition. You talked about that earlier, listening to your intuition, and because your body is only going to heal as open as you can let it be. Like if you're constricted in acupuncture and you're like, I just got to do this and get out, your body isn't going to be open to healing. So you have to trust your practitioner. So that's a really big thing. And even when people say like, how do I find a good therapist? I say, you have to interview them like they're going to work for you. So go in and meet, a couple of acupuncturists and ask them, how do they, what's their forte? How do they think about treatment? And then does it feel right to you?
Right.
If it feels right to you, give it a couple tries. If you're feeling great, carry on. If you don't go back. Don't force yourself to do it, because you need to heal, because you'll find the right person.
And I think if the practitioner has the heart of a teacher, that's a big thing. That you don't have to have a class on what you're doing, right? But to give them an understanding of what is going on, right, and how you would approach it. Right. And I think if somebody is sincere, if I can help somebody, great, then we go after it. And I show them, the way forward as far as my profession. And I think also, there's not one way is the best way. And you want to, many times having an acupuncturist on your team is extremely important. And they can be a primary person as far as, the recovery side of things, working along with the physicians and either a chiropractor or a physical therapist. The person needs to be open, and it's not just my way or the highway, and being open to other ways of helping and working together. So I think an integrative approach many times is a better approach.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for all of this. It was so much amazing information, and I hope that everybody watching here enjoys it. And as always, we're here for you at One Mission. So if you have any questions, you can email us, and I can certainly ask the questions of Robert if you have more. You can find him again at acupunctureconnections.com. And I highly recommend, if you're close by, even if it's worth an hour drive, if you can get there, because it made a big difference for me in my healing. And thank you again, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.